Okay, so we're going to veer into a different part of this project. No, we're not going to work on this car right now, per se. We're going to pull the rear brakes off of this car because we need them on the Duster. And the reason we're going to pull them off of this car is because they got the 10-inch by 2.5-inch brakes. And this car has drum brakes all the way around, front included. Well, we have some upgrade disc brakes and sway bar front and back for this car. When we get into that, it's going to go over. Well, they'll be on the front. So the rears, it'll be best to upgrade those to 11 by 2.5. Okay. So we really need the 10 by 2.5 right now for our Duster, so we can put the axles in and move on there. So I'm thinking this is just, it's going to be upgrade city for all these cars. And unfortunately, we have to just take them off of this one. So the bad thing about it is this is an 8 1/4 rear. And that means C-clips, the cover has to come off. Then you can slide the axles out and you can take the brake assemblies off. Drums, backing plates, that sort of stuff. That's the bad thing about it. Good thing about it is in the future, we will have, for this car, an 8 3/4, which came with it. And that'll go in. These brakes don't work because they are 2-inch. Can't find 2-inch seemingly for anything. 11s, 10s. So those may have been like 6-cylinder brakes. But otherwise, I'd take these off. And when I go to put that rear in, I would just swap the brakes with that one and be done with it. But it looks like we're just going to have to do this right now. So let's get to this. We'll get the brakes out, get them cleaned up, and hopefully we'll have them on the Duster here shortly.
You're watching the Hoosier Garage.
Well, wheels are off. Need to pull those drums, but I'm just really more concerned about getting the nitty gritty of this. As we crawl under here and spin ourselves around. Let me get this light to where everybody can see. So the cover's off, it's still sitting there draining. And if you're not familiar with these, many of you are, but you have this whole center section here, carrier. You know, there's your spider gears right there. I think the noise you hear is the little shield around the yoke on the outside. But it's got a 245 gear. That's pretty high, and it's open. There's no springs in there for a sure grip or anything. So what you see, let me get my little tool here. This is the end of the axle right here for the driver's side, and then in the dark here is the passenger side. And right here, this little plate, which you can see I'm tapping, that's your C-clip. All right, it is literally shaped like a C. I can turn it right there. And what's holding the whole situation in is this shaft right here. All right. It's kind of butted up against it, and the gear oil keeps it from burning it up and all that sort of stuff. So what we really want to do is we need to remove the shaft so that the axle, both of them, can push inward just enough for the C-clip to be removed. It'll drop out of this little slot here. And then once the C-clip is removed, then the entire axle will just right out the side of the tubes. And we can take the brake plates off and happily ever after type of thing. Now, in order to get this situated where you get the shaft out, here's the end of the shaft right here. That's what you're looking at there. And one end, this one has this bolt. That bolt goes through that shaft, and you have to unlock it. I've already broke it loose, and we really just need to get the bolt out and usually Loctite these boogers in when you go to put this stuff together, because you don't want it to come out and then your pin will shoot out and hit the pinion back there, and you'll have instant stoppage maybe of the rear axle, and you don't want that when you're going 70-80 mile an hour down the road. So this is usually a fine thread type of situation, and it's, you know, fairly long. Usually has a little, I guess you call it a shank or something on it, and they'll come out like so. Yep,
right there. This one's got a lock washer, and there it is. It's usually kind of rounded on the end. So we'll put that over here with our other stuff and keep it around. And then the axle shaft, the pin here, I should say. See, I actually was able to just push it. See, it kind of bobbles around in there. So I could probably put my finger on the backside and then push it out. There it comes. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Ah! Okay. Remember Andy Griffith when Barney bought the car and the steering shaft did that? Same thing. So there's your pin. And we'll just let it here and keep all of our parts together. And then when you get this guy around here, look, see, this is what happens. The spider gears, they are also held in by that shaft. I'm just going to kind of push them back into place for now. And then you have this gap here between your axles. So I might be able to do it by putting my foot on the drum, maybe. I might ought to take the drum off. Give me 1 second. All right, so had to get some PB Blaster and spray it on the register, the axle register of the drum, and around the lug studs. And then, because it was kind of froze. This car had been set a long time. And then I just took our 2-pound sledge, kind of bopped the center of the axle, and see, it bumps it inward. And then here's the C-clip right here. So there she is. There is the C-clip. And there it is now. We'll get it. And so then the axle, I can actually, in most cases, push it out. See, it's actually kind of moving around in there. There it goes. All right, and then we got to do the same thing on this other one. I would like the spider gear to go back in there, though. Now we just got to push this side, and then we should have our axle pop in. You'll probably hear it. You'll hear a little tink if it falls out. If not, we'll have to kind of dig it out. Use a magnet. Sometimes you have to use a little sticky magnet and get it out. Get out of the way at least. Now the reason I knew that this has 2.5-inch drums is I took this one off last week. So it should come off. Of course not. I'll just do what I did over there, and the axle will go in. Alright, went in about 1/4 of an inch. Should be enough. Now, I didn't hear it go tink because it's still sitting in there. That's fine. Let's grab our magnet. And you just figure out which side's the open side. And there we go. Here she is. Now you can see axles pull out, and then we can work on the actual brake assemblies. Get them out. And just remember, you're going to need some room to get these axles out, so stuff like wheels, all my stuff laying around. Let's see. So there's the drum. There we go. There's the drum. So the drum we want to keep. It should be good. If not, you can get these readily available. Auto parts store and stuff. And of course, there's a broken spring in there, but we have to rebuild them anyways, right? So here's our first axle. It just simply comes out now, and it's kind of tight quarters in this garage. It still needs some cleaned up, but at least we can get what we're doing here. So, there we go. And then it'll just pop right out. Like so. How you like that? There we go. Alright, so we're over on the passenger side, and there's nothing really different about these from one side to the other. But you'll notice we have, you can't really see these two, there's 2 bolts here, and there's these 2. And you'll notice the hole on this one. There's no stud or nut there. So the 8 3/4 rears, like what we have on our Duster, and what we will have for this Satellite, has the extra stud there because this plate that's on the axles that are pressed on and all that sort of kind of business. Needs all it can to hold it on the axle, whereas the C-clips hold it here. So they just put enough on for the brake assembly to be secure. So you always have 5 on an 8 3/4. You got 4 of them in use typically on these. I think these can be drilled for such if you want. Maybe the bigger, heavier duty vehicles had. But really all we got to worry about is disconnecting a brake line, if there's an emergency cable, and then the 4 bolts, and then this whole thing will come off. We can go deal with them and be good there. So also another thing on these Salisbury style rear ends, 8 1/4 type deal, is that the bearings are usually in the actual housing tube, whereas 8 3/4, they're usually pressed onto the axle.
All right, so here's the brakes stripped down. We'll be getting new shoes, some of the spring kit, things like that. And here's our main items. Here's our 2 backing plates, and here's our 2 drums. And they will get blasted. I'll paint these black, probably paint these, I don't know, red or orange, whatever. And then go on here, pull these axles out. They're just, I can go ahead and slide them in there just to keep all the surfaces clean and dust free. And we'll pop them out, put those in. They'll go back in, and then, man, we're doing pretty good back there. I still get shocks and stuff like that, but we'll just end the video here, and make sure you stay tuned and come back and see us, and then we'll get into the next bit of this, and we'll do some front end stuff as well. And then hopefully, I guess you could say the temporary goal is to get it on all 4 wheels, make it a roller again, and then we'll go from there. Probably do some bodywork stuff. That's down the road. Thanks for coming to the Hoosier Garage.